Childhood Neat podcast. I was this close to like jumping in with some YouTube, Facebook, Twitter. It's your main man, Dame. But no, but we're not Dame Drops. We are the Manhood Neat podcast. But we're here. It's a week. If things have been interesting going on in both my life. I'm sure Dwat, you've been busy, but the world's kind of interesting right now too. So it's been a week. It's been a week.
Yeah, it feels like and you may be that uncle. If you can't figure out which uncle it is, it's probably you. But we've always got this uncle that's like always been calling conspiracy theories since like you can remember. It just feels like that guy was right the whole time.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's just been a wild week, man. It's been a wild 2 weeks, really.
Yeah. So I mean,
Goodness gracious.
So we talked about what did we last time? Oh, it was our 5 things we would hand off if we were like the last Christian hangout to our disciple. Right. That was the last episode.
Shout out to Dolan.
Yeah.
That's right.
And so since then, we've had an attempted assassination of a presidential campaign, or candidate / former president. We had a coup de grace in the Democratic Party with the removal of the sitting president. And then to the point where people are like, is he still alive? They asked for a proof of life. I guess that's going on right now. Is he supposed to be coming out and doing the proof of life? Mad riots in D.C. today with a bunch of people who are pro-Hamas. That's going on. And I just got done reading that, so U.S. and Canadian Air Forces intercepted 3 Russian bombers and 2 Chinese bombers entering Alaskan airspace just like now. So, hey, we're having fun around here.
Yeah. I will say that, and seriously, shout out Dolan. That was a really good question. That got asked to quite a few people, like amongst my wife and I's like kind of circle of friends. So that got some mileage. I will say, I don't know what your feedback was, but most of the people I talked to thought it was hilarious that you and I were just so far apart.
Yeah. So when you asked people that question, did anybody take it the way I did or no?
Yeah. I had a couple people, not a lot to be fair, but
a couple of my less intelligent friends were answered it the same way.
Yeah. You remember that uncle I was telling you about?
Right. Yeah.
So no, it was good, man. How's things going with you?
Man, it's been busy. Just busy. Work's been ramped up with just a lot of stuff. Canaan's got football that's now not just 3 nights a week of practice, but he's got games on Saturday, so that takes up that. And then, I mean, church. I love church, but we've got this thing called Joyous July Nights that they do like a fellowship dinner like every Sunday night. And so, like this past Sunday, so Saturday was busy with football. Got home, mowed the yard, got all the the do list done. And so Sunday, I'm like, okay, Sunday afternoon, I'm gonna go ride. Like, kids are gonna nap. It's gonna be awesome, right? It was supposed to be decent temperatures. Well, we went out to eat after church, standard fare, and I'm like, all right, we gotta be back at church at 6. We got like 5 hours. We're good. And we swung into Walmart real quick, and Liz is like, hey, I need a new phone. I'm like, okay, we'll just go back there and get the cheap phone. 2.5 hours later, we leave Walmart with said phone, get home, literally like just changed from a dress shirt to a t-shirt, leave the khakis on, turn around, boom, like back out the door, and then just right back at it to work this week. So it's been busy. And then this week I've learned I'm not as young as I used to be. So we're rebuilding a VT machine at work. I used to do that every day, all winter long, like when I worked at Harker Roads years ago. Dwat, we were playing probably Battlefield 4 at that time. But
that's the Corvette dealership, right?
Yeah. So I'm doing the same thing I did then, and I'm like, no, my back, I'm not keeping up. My back hurts, my arms hurt, I'm fat. Like, so yeah, it's been rough, but life's good. We're moving on. We're still kicking. What about you?
Yeah, well, same thing, man. Like we've had this big event at work, and they moved in Friday of last week, and I worked 12 hours on Friday, worked all day Saturday and Sunday, been working 9-10 hour days since, and I'm tired, bro. Like, you text me last night, I think, it was like, hey, are you getting on? And I believe my response to you was, I'm in the bed, dog. Like, I think it was 8:30.
Yeah, well, it was funny because I was sitting there, I was thinking, I was like, like last night, I hopped on. I was like, well, some new Destiny stuff dropped. I'll hit up Dwat. He wasn't on. I'm like, man, ever since College Football 25 dropped, Dwat's just been like, I don't have the game. I ain't playing Xbox. He ain't been on since.
Yeah. No, it has nothing to do with that. I'm dying. I want to play this new. I mean, it's nothing special. It's just the weekly update, but I still want to play it, but
But didn't Act
good
2
Lord,
drop?
man. Yeah, Act 2 dropped last week.
Oh, crap,
Yeah.
I'm a week behind. Sorry. Nebraska's
Yeah,
already
but it's
won 2 national
nothing like,
championships, by the way.
yeah, I'm gonna be Mercer if I ever get it. Don't worry.
That'd be awesome. That'd be awesome.
Be the Bears. So,
Mercer
but no,
Bears.
it's good, man. Work's just busy, and I'm with you, man. This Monday through Friday's got me spoiled, man. But I mean, it's been good. It really has. Like, this event was kind of tough last year, and they weren't so kind and with their review, and some of that we earned. And so I've worked really hard to try to make sure that things were handled appropriately, and it has gone well. But it's just been some long days, and probably gonna have to work this weekend too. So just to try to finish strong, finish the drills, as Coach Mark Rick used to say. So,
and your guys' summer pretty much
I don't
ends
know.
this week, don't it?
Yeah. So the opening session here in our county for the school system was today, and so teachers reported back, and then I think the kids go back next Wednesday or Thursday. Like,
That's
it's
crazy.
super. Yeah, and everybody's losing their mind over July, and it's leap year that threw it off. But if leap year wasn't here, you'd be going back August 1. But I was talking to somebody, another teacher friend, and they were like, "Hey, there's a difference between July and August." I said, "Okay, I mean, I guess." Like,
Yeah. Yeah, I
if
don't
you
know.
say so, but it's just a mindset, I guess.
Just take schools back to Labor Day to Memorial Day, man. That's all it should be. And
Yeah.
keep the
So
Christmas break big. But
I know, Ashley thought she's going to have all summer to do all this stuff. And then, like, we were coming back from New Jersey, and she's like, crap, school starts in 2 weeks.
yeah.
So it's just,
It
it's
does
just the
not
way it
slow
is.
down.
So
It does not slow down.
no, it doesn't. Not at all.
But we're going to attempt to slow it down here. We got we're open up a bottle here to pour. And what do we have? What are we sipping on tonight out of the Carnival Game of Fun?
So the listener will have to hit the Googles, but I will show you the fancy box that it comes in. It opens. Look at this. Isn't this fancy? Again,
Very fancy.
User, sole listener. You got to hit the Googles. But this is Wild Turkey Masters Keep 17 year. So Masters Keep is a series that they roll out, I think, one a year. This was, I think, one of the first or second one. I want to say this one came out in 15. There was like a Wild Turkey Diamond edition that people got excited for, because really at the time Wild Turkey didn't do one-off kind of special ultra age release. The Russells, Jimmy Russell and Eddie Russell. Jimmy Russell's the older of the two. Eddie's his son. He's gone on record saying that whiskey that's about 8 to 10 years old bourbon is perfect when it's somewhere between 8 to 10 years old. So before this, Wild Turkey didn't do anything that was super old. So this was a big deal. This was also completely handled by Eddie Russell. So this was the first Wild Turkey product that had Eddie's name on it completely. It's got kind of a cool story. So they had these barrels. They were kind of just sitting in rick houses. They had been moved several times, and Wild Turkey needed like the space, and they weren't sure what they were going to do with them. So the Russells have also gone on record saying that they prefer a wooden rick house compared to a stone or concrete rick house. But they ended up moving these into what is now, it used to be called the Old Taylor Distillery. It's now where Castle and Key is. And they sat in a like stone basement for years, for the majority of their life. So when it went in, this is the interesting part. When it went in the barrel, it went in at a really low proof, and it came out at a low proof. So if you'll look, this is only 86.8% or 86.8 proof, which is 43.4 for our friends in Starkville, and the Iwanians, of course. So very different release from Wild Turkey. This definitely got a lot of people's attention, but it didn't because, and I don't want to spoil a whole lot because of the price. So there's a lot going on with it. It is a cool story how they just kind of forgot about it, but they didn't really forget about it. You know what I mean? So yeah, Wild Turkey. This bottle was given to me by my father, and this is really what kicked off my like bourbon journey. He gave me this bottle of Wild Turkey, and at the time I was just putting whiskey and Coke, and I did some reading. I was like, holy crap, this was expensive, and I just can't dump this into some Coke. So I was like, I need to develop my palate. So I went to your brother and was like, hey, like point me in the direction of stuff. And that's really just kind of how it started off. So you've heard me mention it before, but this was the bottle that I opened when I made Sergeant. I waited so long that the cap broke off when I opened. You see the cork?
Yeah, yeah.
So well, this is it. Wild Turkey, Master's Keep, 17 years old. This is one of the oldest whiskeys I've ever had. Have you ever had anything older than this? Or
No, not older than 17. No, or not even 17.
and yeah, so there's going to be no cork pop.
Well, there's no
Like
cork, so
the
it's
corks, the corks
impossible.
almost
Yeah.
disintegrated. Yeah, yeah.
All right. Well, cheers. I guess there we go.
Enjoy your 2 ounces.
I'm going to. Unfortunately, I put about a tenth of an ounce on my pants.
Hey man, this stuff's rare now.
Yeah, I smell good though.
Yeah. All right. So I'll just tell you off the rip. And I've every time I've had this whiskey, I've gotten this note. And maybe you're tracking, maybe you're not, but this just smells old to me. Like it just smells like dusty. Do you get that?
Like a library full of many leather-bound books.
Yeah. Like a library full of many leather-bound books. It's just funky. It just smells old.
Yeah, I almost get a little licorice smell, like old
Okay.
licorice. It's like it smells like your grandpa, you know. Um, but I do get a little. I mean, there is some sweetness to it.
Yeah, I mean, I get like traditional stuff like some butterscotch, toffee, vanilla, but the dusty note is just really, to me, it's really unique
Is
because I mean, it's got to be old to have it. It just smells like. You're right. I mean, I know there's a joke there, but like it does smell like an old library. It just smells funky. It's old. It's dusty. But I'll tell you what's missing for me is there's like almost no oak.
no, no. I get a little something a little spicy. Is there a little? Is there rye in this blend?
No,
No.
I'm good call. I meant to mention that. I've got it right here. It's on the side. The uh, shoot, where did I put it? Yes, so it's 75% corn, 13% rye, 12% barley, and that's reported. That's alleged. We don't know for sure. So it does have a little rye in it.
I thought
13%
you get
rye.
just a little bit of that rye spice on the palate, or not the palate, on the nose.
Yeah. I do get a little bit now that you've mentioned that. I do. But it's really but like the more I smell this, it's more complex than I would expected to it have been with the proof being so low. But like I get all that kind of stuff that we talked about, and then it just turns old. Like it just gets dusty. It's just yeah. So
All right. Well, should we taste it?
yeah, absolutely. Cheers.
Cheers.
I found the oak.
Yeah, it's on it's on the back end.
Yeah, found it. But it's not. It's nice. I've said it before. Like I don't like an oak bomb. With this being 17 years old, I would have definitely expected it to be more oaky than it is. But it's very rich. It's very caramel, very vanilla. I get some tobacco, but the oak is definitely on the back end.
Yeah, and
Um,
the palate moves through quick. I mean, it's
yeah,
just boom, 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 and
I think that's the proof.
yeah, that's part of it. It's not. even for being aged as long, I don't. It doesn't coat real thick, you know.
Yeah.
Um,
Hmm.
but yeah, it's got like you said. I think that tobacco, that earthiness. It's a little more of a spicy tobacco as opposed to like a smooth tobacco. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, and then quickly moves into that oak to me, and then that
I would I would I would akin that to Levi Garrett. Levi Garrett, when I chewed tobacco in college, it always Levi Garrett always was very strong to me. So there you go. Yeah. It's nice.
yeah,
What about the finish?
it just I mean I get that oak, a little bit of little maybe kind of some a little bit of spice there too, that kind of mellows out that oakiness, and but it's not overly spicy. So like when I say spice, it's more like an allspice or like a candy spice, not like a chili
Right.
powder.
Yeah. Um, to me, it's just a lot of oak tannin, and it leaves my tongue and my palate very dry,
Yeah.
which I don't love. It's not something I'm a huge fan of, and that's just the way my palate reacts to oak. Like that's something that I've learned. So
So it's the top of my mouth that really dries out, not so much my tongue.
yeah, yeah. And to me, the finish is like, phew, it's quick.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like it's not long. It's not long at all.
No, you move through the whole thing pretty quick. Um,
Yeah,
and and like you said, it's low proof, so you don't get that like when you open your mouth and breathe afterwards, that reignition of the flavors. You don't really get that.
yeah,
So,
yeah,
but it's good. I mean, but yeah, it's. I think this is like the one of the probably the lowest proof bourbon that we've actually reviewed together so far.
yeah, yeah. Well, the oldest and the lowest proof.
Yeah, weird combination.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a weird combination. And I wonder if that's partially why it didn't do well. I mean, I get the age, everybody wants to try like super old bourbon. I mean, I get it. Like I've tried a lot of old bourbon, but I think it's the age and the proof that just kind of threw people off. And then yeah, I don't know. And it's crazy that the proof, they didn't do anything to it. They added almost no water to this. I mean, this was almost truly
Cash strength.
like out of the barrel, uncut. Yeah, I mean it's kind of crazy. Yeah.
All right.
So
So, what's your score on it?
well, I have to remove the emotional like attachment to it. I have a strong attachment to this just because my dad gave it to me. It kind of started this bourbon thing for me, which I enjoy. And so aside from the bias that's kind of built in, I mean, this is just kind of okay. Like it doesn't floor me. It's good. It definitely is something that you have to kind of think about to find stuff when you drink it. You just don't drink it and go, oh, there it is. Like, and that's a testament to the age and the complexity. It's just not for everybody. Um, so for me, I'm gonna lean in at a 65. That's where I'm gonna be.
65.
Yeah.
So I will say this is a bourbon. I've had a few more sips while you're talking. That, like you said, it's the complexity comes out the further in you get as far as sips.
Yeah.
It's not like two or three sips and you kind of figured it out. Um, so that helps. I actually just like the sip I just took better than anything before it. Um, so honestly, I was like my first implication, I was like 55. But as I've sipped on, and you talked, it's kind of raised my score a little bit because I've enjoyed it a little more. Um, yeah, probably be like on 60, 62, probably 62.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's it's a Camaro. You're in an SS. At least it's not a Mustang, right? So
It's not a ZL1.
yeah, that's
The
right.
bottle's cool. Again, the listeners are going to have to Google it, but it's got the turkey kind of pressed into the glass. I mean, that's kind of cool. Like the bottle's cool. It's heavy. The stoppers is
Broken.
copper. Like yes. Thank you again for keeping me humble. I mean, it's cool, but yeah. So, and they've released several of these post this release, and they've been fantastic. They released another 17 year that was a bottled in bond that like it was supposed to be really good. Of course, you can't find it. They've done some like rum finished. They released a rye this year, so this is Masters Keep thing is kind of an ongoing thing for them. But I think this was just an early. I don't want to call it a miss because I don't think it's a miss, but I don't think maybe they were just focused in on what
So
they were doing. So
what year was the release on this?
2015.
So it was 17 years old in 2015.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Yep.
And when did you pop it?
I made Sergeant in 22, into 22.
Okay. So you sat on this bottle
No.
for a while.
Yeah, into 22. Yeah. And that could have something to do with it. I mean, you can see I've given a lot of it out. I haven't drank a ton of it. And so, I mean, air, there's that whole air gets in and supposedly it mellows everything out. I don't know how much more mellow the air could have made this. I mean,
Yeah.
how it drinks now is kind of how I remember it.
Okay.
The first time I had it. So I don't know.
Okay. So the
It
question
didn't
is,
mellow out. It didn't mellow out that 13th Colony Double Oak at all. That thing, I've had that thing for 2 years, and it was still just as rich and dessert forward as I remember it being when I opened it. So I
okay.
don't know.
So now I'm assuming this is not a value bottle. That
No,
isn't.
not at all.
Okay. So the question is then, if it's, what would you pay for it? Right.
Yeah.
So honestly, the only thing that's going to bump what I'd pay for this up is the exclusive, the how hard it is to get. I can't use words.
Mhm.
Um, because I mean, there's better bourbon for $60, right? Um,
Yep.
so honestly, if I found this for $75 on a shelf somewhere collecting dust and they're just trying to get rid of it, I'd buy it for the story just to have it, not a lot of people see it.
Yeah.
It looked good on my shelf.
Yeah.
Do I? So because of the rarity of it and the stories that go with it, $75 is probably where I'd be. I don't think I'd go above that because to me a good story is not worth bad bourbon. And not that this is bad bourbon, but you know what I mean. Like if I
No,
can
I
get better
know what you
bourbon,
mean.
so
Yeah.
if I could, if they're like, oh, it's $200, well, yeah, well, I can go get 3 bottles of 1920 and take that home.
Sure.
So
Yeah. Yeah. I'm with you. I'm at like 85. Um, so the kind of rule of thumb is $10 for every 10 years. Right. So did I no $10 a year? I'm sorry, I said that wrong. $10 a year. So that's kind of the rule of thumb. So realistically, this should be $170, right? I don't know what he paid for it. Again, it was a gift. I know that MSRP was 150. I found that online. I had to kind of dig. Um, again, I'd pay 85 for it for the age. Um, yeah, I think the age is really what attracts me the most. To be able to say, hey, here's some old bourbon. If you're getting into whiskey and getting into bourbon and you've never tried anything really old, here you go. I think that'd be worth $85 to kind of be able to, bless somebody, be a blessing,
yeah.
Um, but yeah,
I mean, but
so
it is something that like if I was at like a bourbon bar and they had some of the newer iterations of Master's Keep, I'd be willing to to shill out the $15 for a pour of it just to try it.
yeah, absolutely.
Curious to see where they've gone with it.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I'm tracking. I mean, absolutely. If I was out somewhere and saw it, and it was on their bourbon list and, I knew that I needed to, get a shot to try it. Like, absolutely. What would you pay for a shot? There's a question.
Of
We're
this
talking like
or
yeah, nope, of this. You're at a restaurant. It's a 2 ounce neat pour. That's how, I mean, you get it on
so
rocks,
it's
get it however
this,
you want it.
right?
Essentially that, yeah. What would you pay in a restaurant?
Oh, yeah, probably about that $15.
Okay.
I mean,
15.
I don't know. I haven't bought bourbon in a restaurant in a long time. What's
Well,
bourbon cost in a
I mean,
restaurant?
I don't know. I mean, I know that it can get outlandish. That they can make a $100 bottle, they could make it be
Oh,
$250,
yeah,
because of
but
how much they charge. So
yeah, I'm trying to think.
I,
Last,
I'll, I'll say this: when we were in Destin last year, we went to a restaurant that had 17-year-old Eagle Rare, the BTAC, and 1 ounce was $55.
no,
So
did you buy one
Ashley bought it for me against my will.
for one?
Love you, babe. Uh, and it was mid. It was
Yeah,
mid tier.
I don't even know if you,
Yeah,
like
I
one
was
ounce pour is not
disappointed.
even enough to really like get a good. I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know. I have a hard time.
I
Yeah,
swirled the glass for 15 minutes, man. I was in the restaurant like this,
just
just trying to
wake
make
it
it
up. Yeah,
last. Yeah.
yeah. No, we went last time. Liz and I went in Lincoln to a restaurant. There's a steakhouse that had a big bourbon, like a bourbon bar to the side, and but I mean, the stuff was kind of just anywhere between $10 and $25, for a 2 ounce
Hmm.
pour. And there was stuff nothing. They have anything super fancy, but they had stuff I wouldn't buy a bottle of because I hadn't tried it, and just newer
That's
stuff.
right.
That's the first time I had any Redwood Empire stuff was there,
Yeah,
and I've had it since.
love some redwood.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's a good way to go, but yeah, no, like I'm almost to the point now. I
Yeah,
just would rather just buy the bottle and try it, and if I don't like it, I'll just put it on
yeah.
the shelf and get to my friends.
I mean, think how many 1 ounce pours you can get out of a 750 milliliter bottle that you paid $300 for, and you can turn, like I said, you can turn that into
Oh
$1,000.
yeah.
If it's something like, it's silly. Yeah.
Yep.
Anyway, well, I'm glad you liked it. I kind of figured this was going to be the answer, but it is what it is, man.
I mean,
All
mean,
right.
it's still
Well,
above average. We're still. I mean, we haven't had.
no.
Trying to look back at our scores here real quick.
Yeah, it's like a 25th anniversary Camaro. Is that right?
Yeah, yeah. So our lowest score,
Yeah, my lowest was 55, and that was on Evan Williams,
yeah, bottled and
bottled and
bond.
bond. Yours was a 60 on bottled and bond.
Yeah, so that's my
You
lowest
got
score.
several 60. Yeah. And see, I'm trying not to go back and compare them against other things that we've had. But if you put this, I mean, I think the makers that we had last episode is better than this.
Oh yeah,
You know,
yeah, yeah.
I mean, you go back and you look like the Booker's was better. Um, the Michter's was better. Like the Optic Promise blows this out of the water.
Yeah.
And I really am trying not to go back and do that, but it's just, yeah. So yeah, it's good. I don't feel like I feel like we've kind of poo pooed it. No, it is good. It's
It's
just, it's not what it's not. It's kind of a little bit of a letdown. Is
it's
that is
not the
that fair to say?
it doesn't hold the power of the mystique that the bottle does.
Yeah,
Like yeah,
yeah,
it's like you're waiting to see the new. Like you've been waiting forever to see Indiana Jones like come back out, and then we got what we got.
yeah,
It's not a
yeah,
terrible movie,
yeah,
but it's not
yeah,
it's not what we were hoping for. So
yeah. That's right. That's a great description. All right, man. Well, we can move on. We can press forward into our topic tonight. Um, Tonight we're going to talk about solitude, another spiritual discipline. So, when you read that word solitude, were you like getting hippie vibes off the rip?
no,
Like, what was your
I was
initial?
thinking confinement, like solitude confinement,
That one time you were locked up in a Navy prison,
Turkish prison, but yeah,
Turkish prison. My bad. My bad. Sorry. No, yeah. So solitude, it's not something that I think people always necessarily associate with a spiritual discipline, but I do believe that it's important because and as we'll talk about, I mean, that's really kind of how you find the Lord. You find the Lord's voice sometimes. So
yeah.
I've tried to define solitude, and I just put the state of being alone. I don't know if you maybe had something different or something better, but that's kind of what I came up with.
Yeah, but you're not really alone because you're going to be with the Lord. So, um, I think
Right.
you're in your solution or practicing solitude kind of more that we'll get to kind of more defines what it is we mean. But I guess I just kind of want to start by saying that people we've been in and out of these Christian disciplines, with some things kind of breaking up the series here. But it's something that people or the listeners probably notice is that a lot of these things kind of coincide. For instance, like
Hmm.
you're probably like if you're doing some like we talked about like meditation or going to the higher level, right? Like we're like going Super Saiyan, whatever. That you're probably doing this alone, right? So you're in or you could be, and so you're in a time
Yeah.
of solitude. So a lot of these, it's not like all these disciplines are like, oh, I have to read the Bible and then I have to go out in the woods be by myself. Like, no, you can in
Yeah.
solitude be doing your script, being in the Word, doing your prayer, doing your,
Yeah.
all these things, and so it's all these aspects of these disciplines. A lot of them feed off each other and coalesce with each other.
Yeah, absolutely. It's just like a beautiful puzzle that just when you put it together, it just it makes it's a nice picture. That's it. That's a great way to put it. Yeah. So because I do think when I was kind of preparing for this, I looked at meditation and I looked at kind of solitude, and I think they could be confused for one another, or maybe not confused, but I think um, people could very easily ask the question, well, what's the difference between the two? And so I think that meditation is where you're focused on God's word, and you're meditating on like what the scripture that you read or the story or the parable or whatever, to where solitude to me is you're you're just in a state of, like I said, being alone. Like you're not locked in on a scripture, you're just trying to hear and seek God's guidance. So
So
that's
you're
where I
clearing the
landed on those
mechanism,
two.
right?
Yeah.
The quote for the love of the
Yeah,
game,
yeah,
right?
we can, yeah, we can do that. That's good. Um, so and I I think that solitude is really important because as we get busier, and it's funny that you and I've kind of had some really busy weeks, like it's really important to carve out some time for solitude in our busy world. And I think as men and leaders of the household, like it's our responsibility to set that example. I don't know if it was sleep deprivation or what, but Sunday morning when I went to work, I rode in complete silence.
Just
So I just needed some solitude, dog. Like, you know what I mean?
yeah.
Like, so, and we'll get to that because I put that in practicing solitude. But um, well, I put out some examples in here for solitude in the Bible. We knew that Jesus had a practice of withdrawing to solitary places to pray. Mark 1:35, Luke 5:16. We know that Moses encountered God in solitude while he was in the wilderness, and that's Exodus 3. Um, Elijah hearing God's voice in a gentle whisper on Mount Horeb, 1 Kings 19:11-13, and then Psalm 46:10, be still and know God. That's a paraphrase. So there's definitely some examples of solitude in both the New and the Old Testament. So I thought it was important to add those in there. Kind of the purpose of solitude. For me, I felt like it's just really about having time with God that's just uninterrupted and undistracted, and that just gets harder and harder every day, man. I don't know where you're at on that, but I mean, it really does. Like I said, I worked over the weekend, and Saturday morning I was trying to do my, trying to listen to my little devotion that I listen to every morning. And man, if both of my phones were ringing, my work phone and my personal phone, and they rang my entire ride to work. And I was like, good night. And I got so aggravated that I ended up not being able to finish my devotion until like 2 o'clock that afternoon. I mean, it was just so busy. So I think that's real. That's, one of the reasons carving that time out is just so important. I think that, you're trying to hear God's voice. You're trying to discern his will in your life, and especially your day-to-day life. But then when you add just complex situations on top of that, you got big decisions. Do I make a career change? Do I, what do I want, what do I want for my child? Do I want my son or my daughter? You have these decisions, like it can get really, really noisy. And I think that's another thing where like you just dive deeper into that alone time, that kind of solitude with the Lord. And I think it'll give you, and I think it's something that you have to practice and you kind of have to work at. But I think ultimately you'll end up, you'll feel rested, and I think you'll have some inner peace, and it'll allow you to kind of reflect on like what God has done and what God is doing. And I think that will kind of help lead you to where God's going next, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and probably, I mean, honestly, this is probably the ones that as far as disciplines we've been over, that I struggle with the most is having that time of solitude. Um,
Yeah.
because it seems like when I tend to do it, I just fall asleep. Because I'll just like go like sit somewhere, and and just life's busy, and so like it's
Yeah.
and the probably the reason for that is I don't carve out time. I give him the leftovers for that, um, which is
Yep.
not the correct approach. But I do think it's I definitely know like I said, there's times where it's just been like for me like I love the golden hour, right? So when the sun's going down, in the summer times I'm not
Yeah.
in it as much, but like in fall and spring I'm in it all the time. It's usually by the time I'm heading home from
Yeah.
work, sun's going down. Um, yeah, just turn the radio off and I'll open the windows, and just find some road to just drive down, Uh, like
Yeah.
in Nebraska, the nice thing was like the roads it's all squares, and so like I could just choose a random gravel road and just drive down it because it still went east west or north south, right? Um, and you have that kind of quiet time, the cool air, I call it the golden hour, the sun going down. Um,
Yeah.
and like, I don't know, I just felt God close there, and I could hear Him better at that time, and I think it was because I made a habit of doing that. Um, and I haven't really, I guess, found that here yet as much. But
Yeah.
yeah, I think it's one of those things that until you don't like, it's real easy. It's hard to build the repetition to getting into it, and then it's easy to let it go because you'll be like, God, I just didn't get it done today because work went late or I overslept or I got whatever. And then the next thing you
Yeah.
know, it's been like 6 months, and you haven't been back in that place of solitude with just you and God. Um, and I think it's one of the easier disciplines to let slip out because it's not harped on as much. Like we don't hear about, like every Sunday in service, you hear, you got to be in the Word, you got to be in the Word, you got to be in the Word, but you never hear, you got to
Yeah.
spend time with God, right? Um,
Yeah.
and like on a one-on-one type thing. So, um, not that you shouldn't be in the Word. I wasn't like mocking that. I'm just saying like it's repeated a lot.
No, no, I know what you mean. Um, See, and I'm on the other side of this, but not in a healthy way. Um, so, I'm an only child. I don't have any siblings. Super small family growing up. Super small church. Small high school. Small like I just don't like crowds, and some of that is my upbringing. And some of that's just me being a police and understanding like crowds bring madness. Um, so I lean into this the complete opposite way to where it's unhealthy for me. Do you know the term? Do you know what an Irish goodbye is?
No, I know what Irish car bomb is.
Okay. No, no, no. An Irish goodbye.
No.
An Irish goodbye is when you leave and don't tell anybody bye. You just slip
Oh,
out
yeah.
and just leave.
Yeah, I have
Right.
heard of that. Yeah.
I will hit you with the Irish goodbye so fast, man. Like we'll have like people over during the summer, or 4th of July or something like that, and there'll be a lot of people, and I'll just like slink away, and next thing you know, like I'll be in our bedroom, like on the phone or reading or doing something, and everybody's like, "Where's Daniel? Where's Daniel at? Where's Daniel? Oh, I don't know where he went." And I'm in the bed just trying to ignore him, like, um, so because I grew up like by myself, I do enjoy solitude, but it's a very delicate balance between solitude and being alone because there's a difference there, right?
Yeah.
Um, right, and so I have to toe that line, and I toe it every day because and I told Ashley like when we went to New Jersey, like there's several times where I just wanted to look at everybody and be like, y'all just leave me alone, and I just wanted to like go away, because I just don't need that much stimulus, like I just don't need all that. So that's why I have to really like my solitude. I really have to be very intentional about it because I will just slink away and go sit somewhere by myself and be perfectly okay. And that's just not healthy, like, and I'm emotionally aware enough to understand that, so
Yeah.
yeah,
So what you're
I
saying
have to be
is
careful.
being an introvert is not necessarily a Christian discipline. Having solitude with Christ is a Christian discipline.
Yeah, and I don't know if I would use the word introvert or extrovert. I don't know which one I would be. Um, I just want to be left alone, and I just like, and I'm telling you, the devil will like put that in my head, and I'll just hear it repeatedly, like, "God, I just want to be left alone. Like, God, I wish these people would just leave me alone. And I have to fight it, man. I have to fight it hard because I will take that opportunity to, have some solitude. And next thing you know, I'll just be alone by myself, and it's just not right. It's not healthy. So
Yeah, it is funny
yeah,
how we're sidejacks a little bit, but how like Satan does that to so many people. Like he whatever your tendency is, he's going to thwart it for evil, right? And so, like you said, you go
yeah,
from solitude to just I just want to be alone. But then
yeah,
you can have other like the other side is like my wife loves people, right? I mean, she just loves to be around them all the time, and to the point where her danger is just being consumed with being around people. And like even the reason
right,
she's being around them is not bad. She's like, oh, I want to go help them do this, do help them do that. It's like that's all, but that's all we're doing, right? And then you don't have, and it's the other side, like you're just busy. Um, and so we have
yeah.
to these disciplines. I think they keep us centered. I mean, I don't know if I haven't seen your full list of Christian disciplines that we're going to go through, but like fellowship should be one. Like that's a discipline we should have. Did we do
Yep.
fellowship? I don't know. Probably not.
We have not.
Okay. Um, but yeah, and so like we got to keep all these things, in balance and for the glory of God, not for just meeting our own whims. Um, and like you said, that solitude and being alone are like two different things. Like you can't, if you're just sitting in your room playing Xbox, be like, I'm having my solitude time. No,
Yeah,
you're alone playing video games. So
yeah, yeah. No, I agree. And so that's why I think for me, I've tried to put some stuff in place. Some of these will kind of run together, but I think they'll look. Of course, how it looks for me will be different for you and for the listener, right? But just setting aside some regular times for solitude. Of course, that's going to look different. You said that when you were in Nebraska, it was the golden hour on your way home. I too am a fan of the golden hour, and so I would do that when I was on patrol. I'd roll my windows down and put my because I'm fair skinned, I'd have to wear my sunglasses because my windows were tinted in my patrol car, and I would just kind of bask in like just the beauty, like just trying to practice solitude. Creating a quiet and distraction free environment is not going to be easy. Like everybody has a reason why they need to call somebody. You know, I've always got these notifications. Everybody's calling me. I've taken 10 work calls leading up to our time tonight. Like I just had to put my phone on do not disturb, and hopefully, my work isn't falling apart. But you know what I mean? Like I'm making that excuse now while we're sitting here talking, right? Like that's how easy it is. Like you just have to create that time. So, um, starting with short periods of solitude and then kind of increasing them, I think solitude is, I guess, like anything really, like it's probably going to come easy for some, and for some, it's going to be a chore. So I would think that, you know, starting short, kind of having some success, some small wins, and then, branching out would be something that's worked for me. And then you mentioned this, and this is something that I do, but using moments of transition. So when you're commuting to work, if you're waiting on hold or you're waiting in a line, and that way you can practice solitude throughout the day. So that's some of the stuff that I do. Does any of that kind of ring a bell with you?
yeah, and I think again too, like we just need to like go back to the purpose of this. Um, is to hear God's voice and to connect with Him, and really to me, it's mostly in the hearing way, right? Like, you're
Yeah.
not. It's and so you might have to take physical steps to keep yourself from getting distracted, which means, hey, maybe you literally got to like go into like you got to leave your cell phone on silent in a different room, so you're not tempted to pick it up and look at it, right? Um,
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
maybe you literally just need to go into your closet, like close the door, um,
Yeah.
or like I said, go out, find somewhere that you don't that leave your leave your all your stuff in your car and take a even if you just leave it in your car and walk into the middle of a park and sit down. I mean, are you really alone? I mean,
Yep.
there's probably some kids playing whatever, but you can that can just be background noise. You don't have to. Depends on how easily distracted I guess you are. But
Yeah.
like for me, like yeah, my phone buzzes in my pocket. I might not look at it right away, but my brain's like, oh, who was that? Was it work? Was it, was it
Yeah.
Publishers Clearinghouse? I mean, what's going on here? And so,
Is it Mega Millions
yes,
finding out that I had the winning ticket that I
oh,
threw at a gas station two
yeah,
weeks ago?
yeah. So, but yeah, and so you might have to take some physical steps to mentally get there.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. And the listening part, and maybe I just didn't hit on that hard enough, but I really do feel, that I mean that's really the purpose of solitude is to really, it's almost like solitude is like a mini like personal retreat, and you can do it throughout the day, like earlier this year Ashley went to a monastery up outside of Atlanta and did like a silent retreat, and it was something that she'd been wanting to do for years, and we're at a point where like we can make it happen. And like she got there on a Friday afternoon and didn't speak until she came home Sunday afternoon, and it was such an incredibly powerful experience. And we need experiences like that, but I think in practicing the discipline of solitude you can kind of have those mini personal retreats like throughout the day and throughout the week, so um, yeah. So let's see. I think that we kind of hit on these, but the spiritual benefits of solitude is going to be cultivating a deeper awareness of God's presence, gaining clarity and insight into God's purpose and direction, experiencing healing and renewal, and developing a greater self awareness and authenticity. For me, the one that stands out the most is going to be the clarity and insight to God's purpose and direction. Like I said, the devil's constantly telling me, like, man, these people just need to leave you alone, you know? And so that's really when I need to try and like lean the other way and really seek like what's God trying to tell me that's so important that the devil's like constantly in my head, you know? So that's really the one that kind of sticks out to me. Does one of those stick out to you any?
Yeah, it'd be the same one. Not just trying to cheat, but no. I mean,
Yeah.
that's really it. Um,
Yeah.
and I guess the greater self awareness and authenticity. I think that kind of piggy ties in with that one, so they kind of go together. But I think that one too, like self aware of like I'm not all that great, and then but then at the same time of but even though I'm not that like even though I'm crap, you're crap, we're all crap, right?
Yeah.
But God still chose us, and so like there's a reason for that, and He has mighty things He wants to do through us. Um, so I think that part of that comes too is just from like uh, I don't know. To me, it's a big part of solitude in just sitting there listening is I'm not asking for stuff, right? And
Yeah.
most of my time
Yeah.
talking to God's me asking for stuff. And so if I'm just sitting and listening, okay, I'm not just I just want to hear your voice. Like just talk to me, right? And so
Yeah.
and uh God has a when we stop talking, when we shut up, God tends to speak more. He's a gentleman, right? So he's not
Yep.
going to interrupt us. So um
Yeah.
but yeah, so I think that's another I guess one for me or benefit of solitude. But
Yeah. And really like it comes down to like in that moment of solitude, you talk about like self awareness, like it helps me understand that faith and worry kind of work in this like tug and for like this tug of war, like back and forth, right? They both they both exist, but they can't coexist, right? One is going to win, right? So either you're going to be faithful in all things, or you're going to be worrisome about everything, right? And it's this constant like pull back and forth. And so really when I try to like lock in to the Lord and like what he's telling me, like being having that moment of solitude really can give me clarity to go, well, if he cares about the birds and the lilies, then I know he cares about me, right? It's like those verses just come like streaming back, and it's that assurance that like I am beloved, like I'm loved. I'm a child of God, I'm a son of the King, and so, but like because it's such a like conscious stream, like I think that's why the devil like truly tries to make it such a point of attack. That's why we have all these external distractions, technology and noise, and then on top of that we have internal distractions, right? We have this kind of rolling thought and all these worries, and you lay down in bed and you go, oh my God, I got all this stuff I got to do tomorrow.
Yeah. Do you ever have it
So
where you lay in bed and the only thing you can think of is you don't want to go to sleep because if you go to sleep, you'll have to wait. You'll just instantly wake up and have to go back to work.
I've been there
Okay.
before. I worked at the jail for 2 years. It was rough, buddy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't have that now, but I
Yeah.
had many years where I was like, Lizzie, be like,
Yeah.
let's go to bed. I'm like, I don't want to go to bed. Why? Because if I go
Yep.
to bed, I'm gonna fall asleep and I have to go to work. So,
Yeah. Well,
but
not so at the jail, we worked the same like Panama schedule that patrol worked. And our short week, we would only work on Wednesday, Thursday. The only day of the week that I enjoyed was Friday because I knew I had 2 days before I had to go to work. Right. Friday night, I just like stay up, I drink, I just like to excess. Right. Not just like a sip of bourbon. I'm talking like I drink to excess. Right. Wake up Saturday, and then of course I felt like the bottom side of a shoe, right? Because I drank too much. But you know, it was like immediate anxiety because I knew that I had one more day until I had to go back to work, you know, and then Sunday would come and I would just be a complete like bump on the log. Like I wouldn't want to do anything. We'd go to church, we'd go eat. I'd come home and I'd sit on the couch and not do anything, so and then I'd have to go to work Monday. Like, yeah, it was awful, man. It was a rough time, bro.
it doesn't sound
It
great.
was tough. Yeah, it was awful, man. So yeah, so challenges. Those are some of the challenges, and I think obstacles that we'll kind of fight when you're really trying to have this solitude. I think that because solitude isn't kind of a championed discipline. When you tell somebody, like when Ashley told her mama that she was going to this retreat and they weren't going to talk, her mom was like, "Well, why would you do that?" Like it didn't click, because it was just wasn't a thing. And it's not that her mom was not a believer or anything like that. I mean, and when she was negative on it, she's like, "Well, good, go have fun. Me and your daddy are praying for you, right?" But it just didn't click, right? So establishing those boundaries, trying to set up, kind of the expectation of, "Hey, I'm going to do this thing by myself," um, that kind of thing. So I don't know. Did you have any other kind of obstacles or anything?
Um, no, I mean, kind of like we just talked about. I think the biggest one is just having you have to have the discipline of putting stuff aside to gain the discipline of of solitude, right? Um, and so, but I think that's the biggest thing is just, and it's hard. I mean, it's not like again we just sit here and read our thoughts or have our thoughts, or AI's actually just speaking it for us like Joe Biden, but but no, but I mean, like, and so I think it's just hard to to get to that point. I mean, it is like until you get there, of being like, okay, like it's one thing to leave your cell phone, but to leave to, and it's not that you're like forgetting everything else or like clearing it. Like again, I'm gonna have the hippy dippy thing of
Yeah.
like, oh, I'm gonna clear my chakra. No, you're just, but it's honestly a reverence thing for the Lord. Is Lord, you're more important than all these other things. I'm gonna put you first in this moment. And
Yeah.
so if you, I guess that's my non-hippie way of describing it is
It,
that you're just showing you're showing that like just like when we tithe we give our first fruits, in
yeah.
this time, Lord, I'm giving you like you're the first, you get first priority of all my senses, right?
Yeah.
And so I'm clearing everything else out for you for this time, and then and God will honor that, because I mean, does God expect us to always be like that? No, he knows our limitations, but he does reward effort. So
Yeah. And to kind of continue on with that, I put a quote in here: solitude is a primary discipline that uses silence and withdrawal as a springboard into a deepening relationship with God. And I put that in there because as you kind of work toward the discipline of solitude, it's much like fasting. Like you're going to have to work at it, when you fast, that 2 o'clock, like sugar break that your body's used to every day at 2 p.m. Like, and you are now telling your body, hey, we're not going to eat at this time. Like there's a struggle there, right? Same thing with solitude. Like the silence, if you're not used to it, will be deafening, you know,
Yeah.
like it will. It'll be, the silence will be so loud, and you're probably, and the listeners probably, Dolan, our soul listeners, probably thinking, like, what? But give it a shot. Give it a shot. Just sit in silence and let just, you'll see how loud it is. So it's definitely something that you have to work at, you have to practice at, but it truly is, to go back to the quote, it is a springboard into a deepening relationship with God. So, and then I put another quote from Henri Nouwen. He's one of my favorite authors, but he said that solitude is the furnace of transformation, the struggle against the compulsions of false self. And he, in the book, he called that the old man, or the Adamic nature, and the encounter with the loving God who offers himself as the substance, who offers himself as the substance of a new self, and he calls that the new man. So it's just the idea that, you're going to fight against these kind of natural compulsions, but we're sinners. Like that's why it's natural, because we're broken and
We're
we're
crap.
fallen,
Yep.
Yeah, we're crap. To
We're crap.
quote Aaron, we're crap. You're crap. I'm crap. We're all crap. So,
Yeah.
so those are my thoughts on solitude, man.
No, it's good stuff. Nope. Yeah. Another thing to, so there's all these spiritual disciplines that we've kind of been going through, Christian disciplines. There's two ways to look at them. As more stuff I'm failing at but to me, like it's more things to rise to the challenge, right?
Yeah.
Like run better. We talked about we run better under load. So, um,
Yep.
do not be discouraged. But like I mean, these things build upon each other, and you'll just you get one of them. Your desire to know God better starts to fuel you even
Yeah.
more. And so, and as
Yep.
that fuel burns, you got to keep replenishing it, and you look for more and more and more. And that kind of makes, okay, I'm doing this, okay. And then these other disciplines, like, which one I'm going to go here next? I'm going to go here next. And they kind of
Yeah.
just, they build. And then the bad thing is at the same time as they can cascade off, you quit doing one, you quit doing another. And the next
Yep.
thing you know. So it is important to kind of,
Yep.
to check yourself from time to time and see where you are, on these disciplines. So, but yeah.
No, I agree 100%. Um, yeah, it's not going to be easy. And so you got to work at it. I mean, I hate to sound kind of so flippant about it, but I mean, it's just, I think solitude is a game changer, when it comes to your Christian walk, because it's so counterculture, you know, it's so counterculture. I mean, that's just not the thing now. It's to sit in silence, or to be, you know, unbothered, and so I think it's just a game changer. So that's my 2 cents on it.
Yeah, maybe we should do fellowship
So,
for the next one, and I'll write that one since I like being around
okay.
people. And
Yeah, well, I've got about 4 or 5 more in the
okay,
two, but certainly we can talk about fellowship.
well, I just
Yeah.
think too because it's to me it's just kind of funny, and I don't want to go into too much because we'll just ruin the next episode, or just do it now. But is fellowship is one of those another really misguided and modern culture of what fellowship is supposed to be,
Hmm.
within the faith. So I think it'd be kind of interesting, like you talked about, like counterculture, how two very opposite things in the Christian disciplines, solitude and fellowship, are both
Yep.
completely hijacked and taken out of context in modern culture. So that's kind
Yep.
of why I thought we'd go there. So that's the teaser for the next episode, Dolan. Hope you stay tuned for it in a couple weeks. Any other listeners, we thank you for joining us tonight. If you'd like to support us, the best way is to like and subscribe. Leave us a comment. A 5-star review is much appreciated at any given time. Give us 7 reviews. I don't care.
Yeah.
But if you'd like to reach out to us, it's manhood manhood.neat@gmail.com, manhood.neat@gmail.com. We are on Twitter. We're also on Instagram at manhoodneat. I actually tweeted today. I tweeted that we're doing an episode tonight, and then like 5 minutes later, you're like, I might have to cancel. And I'm like, crap, but we made it. So, but yeah,
I'll
but
have to
yeah,
go and like. I'll have to go like. I guess I need to turn on our own podcast social media
I
notifications
guess you
off.
know what I'm posting once every 6 months. Yeah, but
That's funny,
But
man.
yeah, if you got a bourbon review or you got a bourbon suggestion for us to review, you can always send that in to us too. If you got a topic, we like that. Or if there's something you'd like to see us change, if you need me to, if you're like, hey, Dwat needs to find a new co-host, or something like that. But yeah,
They
just
might
let
be saying that I need to go. They might be calling in for the righty out of the bullpen. You
right.
know what I
Yeah,
mean? They might get tired of my mess.
yeah. Well, Dolan hasn't said anything bad about you yet. He's our one listener, so. But no.
Appreciate that, man.
So, but no, it's been good. So yeah, we appreciate your time tonight, guys. And Dwat, you want to close us in prayer, and we'll call it a night.
Yeah, absolutely. Father, we're just thankful for our time tonight. Thankful that we're able to just talk about you and discuss these disciplines. We understand that solitude can create an open space that you can fill, and you can fill in our lives, Father. And we're just thankful for that. We understand that solitude and silence may not be easy, but we just ask that you would create those moments, and that when we do have those moments, that you show up and you show up in force, Father. That we understand that we have to die to ourselves so that we can be alive in you. Just thankful for tonight. Thankful for your Son Jesus. Just anything we've said in error, Father, we just ask that you would cover that. You would cover that in grace, Father. We pray for our listeners. We just pray that you would meet them where they are, Father, whether and whatever it is they're struggling with, that again you would show up, and you would show up in a mighty way that only you can as the creator of the universe. Again, we're thankful for tonight, and we ask this in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. All right, guys, we'll catch you next time on the Manhood Neat podcast. Dude, what?
The music sounds like the old school, like da na da na da na 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 na. You know that TV show?
No.